Hello everyone and welcome back to another Elder Scrolls Call to Arms test battle report for the channel. After the first one did pretty decently, we're going to try again with the Delve mode, which is the player or players versus AI mode for the game. Specifically from the quest book, we're going to try Delve mode scenario 4, which is called Realm of the Dead. It's mostly just a kill to a cap, victory points wise, based on the septum limit you're playing. And on that note, we're playing lower septum cost this time. I think it was about 220 something last time. This time it's roughly 160 something. That puts it just above the cutoff where it suggests that you play on a 3x3 table. I think it's if you're playing above 150, it says that's when you switch to 3x3, otherwise you're on a 2x2. So we're just above that cutoff, using less minis, well, less hero minis, only one and then two kind of trash helpers, against a plethora of AI controlled beasts and undead. But when you do set up a Delve mode, you're supposed to have like 25% extra against you. So if you're playing 100, you would play 125 monsters. Playing a little bit less, that's just based on what I have available and their relative septum cost. So they're actually slightly below that, 160, I think it's like 130 something. But either way, with Realm of the Dead, we'll talk about the specifics once we're set up and whatnot. But because of the septum limit we're playing, there is 3 objective tokens which will be placed down once we're ready. And the septum limit also means we get 4 randomized treasure tokens, which are what are there. Let's take a look at the adversaries we'll be playing today, and then the 1 hero and 2 helpers I'm bringing here. Well, slightly obscured by a bush, but from left to right we have the Draugr Overlord again, except this time he's not the beast, because that was just a special thing for that scenario we tried last time. He's still very, very scary, but not quite as scary. He isn't getting that extra yellow die for attacks and defense this time. He's been issued on number 1, and then for 2, 3, and 4 we have 3 skeletal archers, and then for 5, 6, and 7 we have 3 frostbite spiders. And much like the last scenario we played, they start adjacent to treasures in this one. The unused ones will stay in the monster pool to get respawned by end of turn events. And it does specify with the Ancient Graves rule for this scenario that at least 25% of the adversary models rounded up to the nearest whole number have to be undead and or vampires. The Draugr and the skeletons count, so we have over half, so we cover that easily. That's really the only special rule for what you have to go against for this particular mission. So apologies for the not great angle, but here is the 3 models I'm using. So I'm trying out one of the other Dragonborn miniatures available for the game. Most of them are just like your standard wearing the box art armor male or female Nord. This one's also meant to be a female Nord, but because they're wearing the Nightingale armor and they can be an adventurer or a Nightingale, they're kind of crouched over, thin looking. I think it could pass for any of the dumber race, any of the elven races really. Not orc probably, but anything else. I think it would help that they're wearing full armor so you can't even see them. All you would need to do is exchange out the racial bonus skills for the race you're playing as. Because I'm planning a little bit ahead, because in the Elder Scrolls games I always play as a Dark Elf. It's one of the few games I do. But either way, this is the Nightingale. We're talking about this miniature in the next, getting stuff painted. And she is base 68 septums. I've given her what she's modelled with. So she's got a Nord Hero bow, which costs 15, glass arrows, which we'll have to check to see if she runs out of every time she fires, with 8. She's got the Nightingale armour for 22. I've given her the Amulet of RK, which costs 10, so she's got regenerate health, and the Nightingale armour gives her regenerate stamina, so she'll be getting 1 health, 1 stamina extra back. There's also 3 Nightingale buffs. They don't have a cost, you can only pick one, similar to in the video game, but I'm not sure if you're allowed to if you're not technically playing Nightingale's affiliation, but I took one anyway, just to try it out. This is again just to mostly try tactics and whatnot, and she's very focused on staying hidden, doing sneak attacks, so we get to experience that. But I did take the Nightingale's buff of Strife, 1 use only when this model starts an activation with a hidden token. Then as a special action it may target 1 enemy model within 6 in line of sight. The target model loses 1 health and this model restores 1 health. So you do a little cheeky sneak attack. It's only 1 damage, but trash mobs mostly have 1 health, so it's a free kill basically. So she's being accompanied by 2 Imperial recruits, which are she's Path of Shadow incidentally. But they're Path of Might, they're trash mobs, they only cost 19 septums each, they have 2 health. They're mostly here just to take a couple of hits and just to keep the point cost relatively low. They're not going to do great. They roll green-red though for their attack, and a single yellow for their defense. So my kind of general idea for the story here is they've kind of recruited the Dragonborn to help clear out this cave system. So we need to draw a quest, and then we need to take oaths from the book. We'll look at the oaths in a second. Let's just take the quest deck here. I'm just going to cut the deck randomly and take one. A rare gift. At least 3 adventurers. Can't do that one. We have 1 adventurer. Ghost of Kenstag. At least 3 adventurers. I'll read the requirements first. Requirements. Scenario must use adversaries. Yes. If no adversaries... Oh no, we can do this. There must be no adversaries on the board when the game ends. For 3 victory points, we have to kill them all. It's called extermination. That is nice and simple. We'll keep that. So for the oaths we take, let's look over the mission while we're at it, because that will help decide what we're actually doing. So once again, there's a bisected line down the diagonal, although I'm going to deploy down on this edge and kind of swap them just because it's easier for recording. But we have a 6-inch deployment in one corner. There's a treasure zone, and that's where the adversaries spawn. And the mission uses adversaries, objectives and treasure. Already covered that. Adversary models must be placed in contact with objectives first, and then they're placed adjacent to treasure, and then if there's still any left over, they get set in the pool. And then the ancient graves I talked about. Victory conditions though. We get 1 VP for each enemy we kill. The game ends when the round limit is reached, which is 8, which sounds like a lot, but when you don't have many models. Oh, and that's the other thing to mention that I forgot as well. Because of the Septim limit being played, the adversaries only have 2 activations. They can still react, but they only have 2 set activations. So, because of our Septim limit, we need to get a narrow victory, we need to get between 10 and 15. 16 or more is a solid victory, 0 to 9 is a loss. The oaths are treasure hunter, wipe them out and strike from the shadows, which are up in the top right here. There we go. My party will remove an enemy model using a sneak attack. That's basically what I'm trying out in this video, so I'm going to take strike from the shadows. That'll be a bonus 1 victory point if I can do that. We lose 1 at the end of the game if I don't. That works well with our quest, although we have to make sure everyone's dead on the final turn, which is a little bit risky. Yeah, I'll try it. I'll take wipe them out and strike from the shadows. With that, we'll get deployed, and I'll randomise which enemies are where. Once I put down the objectives and whatnot, they have to be in the treasure zone that was on the map there, and we'll flip them and see what's where. So my tiny, tepid team of 3 is deployed down within 6 inches of the corner there. Randomise tokens next to where objectives are. The objectives and the treasure cards don't have to be anywhere specific for the scenario. The setup for objectives just says they have to be at least 10 away from whatever the deployment is, because you're playing on a 3x3 table. I did spread them out probably a bit more than I needed to, just to try and make us work for it, basically. Same with the treasure tokens, I just kind of threw them where the objectives, or in between the objectives. And I randomise which enemies are where, so now we're going to flip them over and see what's what. Well, there's the Overlord right there, that's pretty scary. And that is a skeleton. That is 2, 3, 4, that is also a skeleton. That's a spider. That's a skeleton, so that means these are spiders. So that's where everyone is. As already stated, they only get 2 set activations in a turn, we alternate. But they can get reactions if we stop within 6 of them. So I'll replace these tokens with the monsters that are relevant. And yeah, we'll jump into turn 1 with me going first. So I went with one of the Imperial recruits. Again, they're not exactly sturdy. I wouldn't expect them to live that long. But he moved to the left, stayed out of 6 of the Overlord. I didn't want the Overlord to get a reaction turn. I'd rather he have to go and get him. He threw up a block as his other action though. So the skeleton guarding the objective there activated, and again we're rolling on the AI cards for what they do. You just roll a black die and consult based on their path. Skeletons are path of shadow. He wanted to move, so I decided the best bet for him would be to hide first and then move forward, so he doesn't have to do any kind of check. He can just hide because he was out of line of sight back there. So he moved forward to 6 and is just waiting there. Alright, let's roll some dice. I went with the Dragonborn, the Nightingale Dragonborn, moved her up 6 inches, and she's going to take a short range shot at the Overlord. If she doesn't kill it, then it's going to get a reaction, which is an out of sequence turn. But didn't have time to make her hide because she had to move and then take the shot, so she's not going to do as well as she could do. A Path of Shadow hero miniature gets an extra red die and a sneak attack instead of a yellow. But she's just firing the bow, so the bow she's using is at short range a green and a red. However, the glass arrows at short range give her another red, and she's taking 1 stamina damage to do an aimed shot to add another green to try and make this happen. Worth pointing out, you can't do any spending of stamina if you're hidden, otherwise you lose the hidden. I guess that's to replicate you being slower in the game. So her ranged attacks hit on 5s, Well, that's a hit. And we have helmets. We have 3 damage base, Oblivion symbol, and a helmet. So now we have to see if the Oblivion symbol does anything for either of these. No, it does not. We have the helmet doing piercing 1, although on the arrows it says it also does piercing 1, but if the attack already has the piercing word, increase the value in the parenthesis by 1. So that is piercing 2. 3 damage with piercing 2. The Overlord has 2 yellow armor and 1 super armor. So he blocks 2, which gets negated by the piercing 2. His super armor blocks 1. He takes 2, which leaves him alive on 2, which means he's now going to react. So the Overlord rolled for wanting to attack, which isn't a surprise with Path of Might. The Dragonborn was ever so slightly closer than the Imperial Foot Soldier, or trainee, whatever they're called. Recruit, that's the word. But she also wounded him, so, you know, do what the AI would do best. It would go after the person that it's angry at, because they're also slightly closer. So he is rolling green and 2 yellows. Actually, no, he would also include a 3rd yellow, because he would power attack. Or he would try and make his hit go, but I guess he would do power attack, because again, they can do 1 boost per turn. And it's on 5s, and it does hit for a lot of damage. That is 4 damage. Nightingale rolls red, and if she gets the, well, it doesn't matter, but let's just cover it anyway. If the Oblivion Gate symbol comes up, she rolls 2 additional yellow. So she gets rid of that, and takes 2 damage. As long as she's alive at the end of the turn, when it rolls over to next turn, she heals 1 back, thanks to that buff I've given her. But they gave each other as good as they got, 2 damage each. So I'm a little unclear as to whether or not that reaction activation counts for the purposes of putting priority back with me. In the battle mode, all the adversaries' actual actions happen at the just before the event phase at the end of a turn, and they just react throughout it if the opportunity arises by someone stopping within 6 of them. In Delve mode you alternate with the AI, so it's back and forwards for however many activations they're allowed based on the septum limit. I can't remember offhand if a reaction counts, and I had a quick look and couldn't find it in the rulebook, so I don't remember. We're just going to play it that it is back to my turn because that reaction activation's happened. They've still got 1 actual activation left. But I went with the recruit. He is charging in and he's going to try and finish off the Overlord. He's taken 1 stamina to take a yellow die extra on top of the green and red he gets with his sword, which is actually pretty decent. Although they're trying to hit low, like their skill 3, and the extra green is from the outnumbering bonus from the Dragonborn also being engaged. A 3 is dead on enough, but it came down to -2. He actually hit for 4 damage. That is really, really good. No bonuses or anything like that. So this is these 2 plus 1. So he blocked 3 and took 1. Ah, so close to death. No, he survived on 1. So randomly selected for the final adversary activation of turn 1. Skeleton that was guarding here, he wanted to attack, but I'm counting this as not being sea overable, because it's iffy as to whether or not they can with the height of the models in this game. Just going to say they can't, so it's line of sight blocking. But he wanted to be attacking, but the best bet for that seemed to be to fall back to its friends and hide, just because that means he can potentially do a lot more damage in the next turn. Speaking of the next turn, despite there being like 2 spiders up there, another skeleton there, another spider down here, that's the end of the turn, because with the septum limit we're playing, there's only 2 set activations, which they've now had in the form of those 2 skeletons, and they had a single react from the Overlord, who I'm hoping to kill at the top of the next turn. We still have to draw an event card even though there's nothing to respawn, though, so let's go do that. So because we're still learning the game, someone did mention on the test battle report we did before, if you get something like the Golden Claw, you're supposed to look it out from the item deck, mix it into the top 3 of the treasure deck, and then if you draw it, you do it. That's overly complicated for now. That's just an extra layer that I don't really want, so we're still going to just reroll if we get something like that as our event, or ignore it and just take the respawn value. Secret paths. Choose 1 friendly model that isn't staggered or incapacitated. That model may immediately move up to 6 inches, ignoring terrain and other models. It may not end this move in contact with any enemies. So we would respawn 1, but there's nothing in the pool to respawn, so that's fine. Do I want to move anybody 6 inches? There's no additional bonus for multiple people in base to base, but it wouldn't matter. Yeah, you know what? I could move him up 6, so he's already in base to base with that objective. I don't know if that means you flip it right now. You can't interact with it till next turn anyway. Let's do that just to see what it is. So he's going to teleport himself right here with his activate token, his block token, because he hasn't dropped his block yet. He doesn't get to interact with this for free, but this objective is, I think that means it's a master treasure, which presumably means it's locked. I'll look into that between turns, and we'll be back with turn 2. So as we start turn 2, that is indeed a Master Treasure objective. Apparently they can sometimes be locked. I'm guessing this one isn't because it doesn't have a value for lockpicking or breaking it open by force. So it is just open. You just need to do a search action roll. If it's an X, you get trapped and hit, and then you get the treasure. Otherwise, you just get something from the Master Treasure deck, which means it's really good, which unfortunately they can't use because they can't have equipment, but he can carry it for the Dragonborn if he gets it. And you get 2 victory points as well, and then it's just removed. But we're not doing anything with him first. I just wanted to get that covered. Also, everyone heals 1 stamina, and because of the RK amulet that the Dragonborn has, she's also healed 1 HP. So I'm actually going to go with the Imperial Recruit, not the Dragonborn, because she doesn't have a close combat weapon, so trying to use that bow in close combat would be bad news. He landed a power attack last turn, which I think staggers the enemy. I'll need to look into what that does if he survived, but I want him to kill the Overlord ideally. So he's going to do another power attack. He's spending 1 stamina, and he's getting an extra green die for the outnumber bonus, with the Dragonborn being there. Green-red standard on 3s. That's a crit. I don't think the crits do anything for him, but the helmets might. Let me just double check his card real quick. No, he needs double swords to get piercing. I guess the double swords must be less common than the Dragonborn helmet. But that is still 4 damage against this plus 1 super armor. Does that give him any bonuses? No. So he blocks a total of 3. He takes 1 and he does die. Good. That's good for 2 reasons. 1, we get our first victory point, so it's 1 victory point. 2, though, because he is an elite, you don't check, it's not the same as a hero. There is an enemy type called Master that does get the chance to not die. But he's an elite, which means he does not go into the spawn pool, he will not be back. He was a 1 of 1. The Overlord has fallen. That's what you get for not being the beast. Oh, he has another action as well, right? Will he throw up a block, I guess? I don't think he can walk into the skeleton because the skeleton's hidden, so that wouldn't be allowed. I don't know. I guess I'll walk up. Well, that archer might activate. No, he will activate if he's within 6 of him, actually. Which I don't think he is right now. I'll probably just leave him there and block. Let me measure how far away he is. So that is really, really super, super close. It's down to millimeters, but that's the 6-inch line right there, and it doesn't quite cross the base. So that means he's not getting a free reaction, which is good for the Imperial Recruit, and I am just going to throw up a block because I'm scared of the damage coming in from an arrow. So the skeleton I did not want to activate was of course the one that got randomized to activate. He wanted to move though, so it's one of those weird situations where do you do literally what the card says. So I opted for, yes, he moved, he fell back to the objective to guard the objective, if that makes sense. But then he's going to take a shot, he's going to fire a long range shot, and unfortunately I also realised, as I'm sure people more familiar with the game have pointed out, these recruits, they can't block, I don't think, because they don't have equipment, so you don't have a shield, nor does it say on their card anywhere that they can block. I don't think they even have the block skill, so they can't throw up a block, which means they couldn't have done those actions. Didn't matter, as it turns out, but either way, the skeleton is taking a long range shot from hidden, which means it gets an extra yellow, so this is potentially 6 damage right here. A 4, what kind of skill have they got? They've got a 3! Let's see if it would have mattered. That's 2 damage versus 1 yellow defense. We would have lived. In fact, that gives him an extra yellow die. Yeah, he actually would have taken no damage. Block or not, that doesn't matter. So that's good. He then needs to do a check to see whether or not he is discovered on his... what skill is it? Where is his sneaking skill? I actually don't know. Let's see if it matters. Well, he's definitely passed on a crit, so he stays hidden then. I activated the Dragonborn and have moved up, but first I forgot to check to see whether or not her glass arrows ran out after she used them turn 1. On an X, nope, okay, so she still has them. You do that every time you use them. So she's moved up. I'm going to try and do a detect for that skeleton there. If we detect her, we're going to, or detect it, we're going to shoot it. Otherwise we're going to shoot the spider. We are within 6 of the skeleton, not the spider. So it's an extra green die on the int test to try and detect it. That's definitely detected. So be gone, hidden. And then I guess we'll shoot the skeleton. So that is within 8, so that will be short range. Let me just double check that is within short range. Short range is 8, yep. So that is green, red, standard. The arrows add a red at short range, and I think that's probably good enough. Well, we're not hidden yet, so I might as well spend the stamina to add in a green, just to try and guarantee a kill. Why not? Ooh, that's a 10 that comes down to a 7. That is not good enough. Never mind. I presume. It's a 6, right? No, it's a 5. Ugh, yeah, it's a miss. Well, hang on. Could we then maybe do the skill? Nope, we can't do the skill because you have to be hidden to do it. Because I could have just done the 1 damage. Oh well. So the other set adversary reaction was a spider, a frostbite spider up there by the chest. Wanted to attack their Path of Shadow. He moved up, or it moved up, and expended stamina to get those extra 3 inches. The monsters are terrifying. I'm not really sure what that implies. They're not beasts though, so they don't get the fleet skill, which is just 9 base. So he's out of range. They've got a ranged attack, but it's only 6 inches, so he can't hit anyone. And then it comes straight over to my turn, and we know what we're doing because it's the trainee at the chest there. So he's opening it, which means we gain 2 victory points. Does it trap him? It does not, so it's just gone. And then we draw a card, which he can't use. Don't need the trap deck, as it turns out. So we'll just, let's just shuffle this and go here. Deadly Poison. Let me just pull this over here to read it. 1 use, discard this card when performing an attack with a non-bound weapon. The target suffers any damage from the attack. Assign 3 poison. Wow. As I say, these can't use it because they're not hero characters. But he has it on his person. If he can get close to the Dragonborn, he can do an action to trade it to her. She's fighting for poison. Can bung that on the arrow. Oh yeah, speaking of which, I think you have to check if you run out of ammo even if you don't hit, because you still used it, so I forgot again. She didn't run out, she's run out. She's got some more glass arrows left. That's the end of a turn though, because there's no reactions. So we're at the event for going into turn 3, however I did forget that trainee had another action. I moved him up 6, or just not quite 6, to stay out of range of a skeleton that hadn't activated to avoid a reaction shot. Show you where he is in a second though. It requires a cave. Yeah, why not? If the darkness rules are not currently in play, they immediately take effect until the start of the next event phase. If they're in play, draw another card. Well, I haven't been doing the weather rolls when we've been starting matches, so sure, let's count the darkness as being in effect. I presume that just affects maximum range, but we'll cover that at first activation. So that's where the Imperial Trainee ended up, but I'm going with the Nightingale instead, and they've healed back to full because of that Amulet of RK. Short range shot into that skeleton. I want rid of these skeletons because they can do a surprising amount of damage if they're hidden. That's a 6 that comes down to 5. That's just enough. That's 6 damage. There's no point rolling defense. That is definitely a kill, but does she run out of arrows? She does not. That's 1 VP for the skeleton. That goes right back into the spawn pool though, so that's actually something that can respawn. For her other action, she's outside of 6 of the spiders, but they do have clear line of sight of her, so I don't think she's allowed to hide. If she moves up, the skeleton's going to get a reaction. What else could she do? I think they're close, they're within an inch, so I think she can initiate a trade to take that deadly poison. I don't know if the model with the item has to initiate the trade, or just like the 2 friendlies can initiate a trade. So this is wrong, I apologise. But she's going to take the deadly poison off of the trainee that's next to her. Man, I'm getting unlucky with which NPCs are activating. The close skeleton activated, wanted to move, but again I just counted that as moving to protect objective and shooting from hidden into the trainee. So because they're shooting from hidden, that's an extra yellow die, and they're boosting for a green die. And it's 3s or 4s? Let me just double check. Sorry, it's 3s. A 5 comes down by 5, so it is a hit for 3. The Imperial Soldier has just yellow defense, although if he gets a helmet it could be better. Nope. Unfortunately he takes 2 and dies. They only have 2 health. Thank goodness I got that poison off him before he went down, but they're not respawning. He is just gone. While the other Imperial recruit wants revenge for his fallen friend, he boosted his movement, charged forward, and since they can't seem to block, he's just going to wait there because he can't attack. No ranged actions at all. So actually, do they have a ranged action? No, they don't. That's just armor and attack. So he's just going to sit there, twiddling his thumbs, hoping to get that skeleton next turn. Actually, you know what he could do for his other action? He could try and detect them, right? Or I think detect is part of the attack, but you have to initiate the attack. I'm not sure. Let's see if it would matter. Would he detect them? 7 comes down to a 4. Probably still not enough on their int. Their int is 3. Nope. Sorry, even worse, 2. So, no. He would not have found them either way, so it doesn't matter. There's still one more set activation for the enemies, though, and then we'll be at the end of the turn. There's a disturbing amount of consistency with which AI is activating. The same spider from last turn moved up, couldn't quite get into base to base, but wanted to move, so I opted to boost his movement, since that's what he was focused on. He's still able to spit, though. So the spider spit is green, yellow, yellow, range 6 maximum, and on helmet it poisons, which I don't remember what that does. And we're going to have to check 8765. 5 is not enough actually. No, they test on agility for that, which is 4. So never mind, he missed. So not yet, not yet. Well, going into the halfway point turn, let's see what awaits us. In a cave, yeah, the ghost of old Hurlden. At least 3 treasure and or master treasure tokens in play. How many treasure chests are still in play? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, we can do it. If a model rolls an X during a search action on a chest or a master treasure chest, draw a trap card but do not gain a treasure. Instead, you find the bent and rusted sword that you seek. Be the first to find the sword to complete this quest. So this is actually a quest to gain additional victory points. If we're able to do that, we win 2 victory points, but it requires getting an X on a chest to open a chest. So it probably won't happen, but we'll keep it. There's no harm not to. And 1 respawn, so that skeleton that died is going to come back on the far end of a table. Well, as we start turn 4, I'm going to go with the Dragonborn, and she's going to shoot that spider that's staring her down in the face. I did forget to look up the darkness rules, but everybody was short range last turn, and of whoever fired, so it probably didn't matter. So, short range, and that comes down to 2, so that's definitely a hit. That is piercing 2. The spiders, what did they even roll for defense? I don't think they have armor. That's weird. Let me just see here. Range attack, melee attack. Yeah, I don't think they roll anything for defense, so they just take it to the face and die. Good. Get splatted. Back into the spawn pool you go, but that means we have 5 victory points, so I'm immediately going to level the Dragonborn because she's the only one that can level. So let's see if we can spot what changes. Her chance to hit goes to 6, that's really good. 1 more stamina. I think that's it. 5, 4, 3, 5. Oh, 1 more strength as well. Yeah, so 1 more agility, strength, and stamina. Better than nothing, that's for sure. And she would have fully healed had she not already been wounded, but either way. For her other action, the Nightingale kind of moves sideways just to get away from the other spider for now, and outside of range 6 to stop her reaction there, but I did forget to roll whether or not she runs out of glass arrows. Nope, it has to be an X. Well, it was the other spider over here that activated, and it wanted to move, so it moved in and is now within range to spit some poison at the Dragonborn. Same as rolling as, well, that's a hit for sure. 2 damage, no poison though. So she's rolling a red die on her armor, and if Oblivion comes up, which it did, we get 2 yellow. We fully block the damage, no poison, just as well. So this is where I can be a little bit sneaky with my activation with my last Imperial recruit. Reactions for adversaries happen if you end your turn within 6, not if you start them. So I had him retreat outside of 6 just barely to attack the spider, because now that I know the spiders don't have armor, he just needs to land a hit. On that note, he's spending 1 stamina to do a precision strike to get an extra green die thrown in rather than a yellow, because again, he just needs to land a hit. He didn't even need the extra die. He hits for 1, I don't think the Oblivion symbol does anything, nope, but they have no armor and 1 health, so that is a splatted spider for another victory point, which takes us to 6. Still not enough to even count as a win. We need to get to a narrow win is 10 plus, but either way. So we got lucky in the sense that the skeleton archer that spawned in is the one who was randomly selected to activate. He wanted just to move, so he boosted his movement, moved up, and has hidden himself. And that is it for the turn. Let's see what horrors await. This is for a village, can't do that one. Forest, not open ground, nope, can't really do that. There we go. Lure the, what does that say? Hermias Mora. Choose 1 hero. That model gains +2 wisdom and intelligence but -1 strength until the end of its next activation. We have only 1 hero. I guess I'll leave the card down here by her. That won't matter because she tests on agility most of the time. But 2 respawns. It can only be the 2 spiders. They're also just going to come in at the top corner because that's the furthest point from my team. So would you believe it, but that intelligence buff for the turn actually comes in massively handy. The Dragonborn, I boosted stamina to move up extra 3 inches to get in base to base with that objective. We'll handle that in a second. But she needs to int test to see whether or not she can find this skeleton. And her int is currently a lot higher than 1 when it comes down to. So you have been detected, Mr. Skeleton. Insert Metal Gear Solid noise here. And we're going to shoot him. And we're also going to test that objective. But we'll do the shooting first. So glass arrows are a red and then a red-green. And we can't boost because we've already boosted. So it's just a roll. and we're down to 6, that's a hit for 4. They only roll yellow, so they can't block all that, so they die. Goodbye, Mr. Skeleton. Into the spawn pool you go. That's our, what, 7th XP, and then we get to see what this is. I think that's just an objective, so if she's still holding that by the end of the turn and isn't hidden or anything like that, that's worth some points. The skeleton over here activated and just wanted to move, stayed hidden and boosted his movement where you can see him. The objective type that is there is worth 2 victory points if it's controlled at the end of the turn, so we are going to control it. It's up to my soldier to activate. I guess he'll just move into base to base as well, because there's nothing else he can really do, so he'll just boost his movement to there. He's outside of 6. He's far enough forwards that the Dragonborn won't get shot at if the other skeleton activates. Yeah, I think that's the best bet. Any other adversary activation this turn was one of the respawn spiders, moved up 9, boosting its stamina. I can't remember if I checked for whether or not I ran out of glass arrows this turn, so I'm just going to roll again and hope that it's not an X. It's not, thankfully. I might have already rolled. That's the end of a turn though, so we immediately gain 2 victory points. I'll need to check to see whether or not that stays and can be scored multiple rounds, but we definitely get 2 for now. As far as I can tell, that does indeed stay to be caught across multiple rounds. That event is worn off. The Dragonborn stats have returned to normal. Let's see what we can get. Forest, nope. Just a basic one. What was that? If the adversary rules are in effect, yes they are. Choose a point on the gaming area within 6 of one of your models. The adversary spawns from that point instead of on the table edge. If the adversary rules are not in play, discard the card. Okay, so that means that the skeleton, because that's the only thing that's dead, is respawning within 6 of my dudes. So I'll place him somewhere there, and then we'll be back with my first activation. So that's where the skeleton has shown up, but it's my activation. I'm going with the Dragonborn. She's going to fire a long range glass arrow this time at the skeleton up there instead. At long range she's not rolling as good dice, it's 2 yellow dice for damage. The glass arrows add in a green, and she's aiming her shot for another green because I want this to hit. A 5 comes down by 5, so sure, it's a hit. 2 damage, that is savable for them. They have blocked 1, took 1, died. That's perfect for 2 reasons. 1, we get another victory point, so that's us up to, what are we up to now? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that's us up to 10. And that means nobody can see me, because that's line of sight blocking. So there is a rule where no one, like, you can't hide if someone's within 6. I presume that doesn't count if there's intervening line of sight blocking terrain. I'm going to hide as my other action. She doesn't need to test for it, presumably, but well, let's do a test just in case it matters. So it would be a agility test, a 6. Thanks to her being leveled up, that passes. So either way it would work. So she's now hidden, that's her turn, and she's going to stay on that objective. Well, the spider down this neck of the woods finally decided to activate. It moved into range, boosting its movement to get around that corner, and is going to shoot some poison into the poor Imperial recruit. Incidentally, that is within 6, but she ended her turn hidden, so I'm not sure it triggers a reaction. If I'm wrong about that, sorry. But it makes sense to me that it wouldn't, because he doesn't know she's there. That's a hit with poison for 3 damage. He gets 1 yellow defense die, or was it 1 red? No, it's 1 yellow, but a helmet could give him some more. He only blocked 1, which means he takes 2. Poison is irrelevant. Goodbye, my poor soldier. We're down to just the Dragonborn with, 3 turns left? We've still got a chance to earn some victory points. That's the important part, as long as we don't get wiped out. Well, either way, that skeleton is the next actual activation then, so he's getting a turn regardless. He's coming around the corner, he wants to be aggressive, and he's going to try and detect the Dragonborn, getting an extra green for being within 6, and that's a crit fail. That skeleton is blind, just as well. So at the end of the turn there, we gain 2 victory points from holding that objective again, and this is the event, unless it's one we can't do. It is one we can do. Lost Treasure. Place a Master Treasure token on the gaming area no closer than 8 to any player controlled model. Okay, and 3 respawns. It's only 1 dead skeleton, so that's coming back, and I'll put down the Master Treasure chest as well. Well, for once it's my turns that are going to be really quick, but they're also really important, so obviously I'm going with the Dragonborn. I've got no one else left. She's going to fire a sneak attack arrow into that spider. It's a bit overkill, and I also don't want her to boost her chance to hit, but at short range she's getting red, red, green because of the glass arrows in her bow. But because she's a Path of the Shadow hero shooting from sneak attack, she doesn't get an extra yellow die, she gets another red. But again, it doesn't matter as long as it hits. Okay, fine, it did 5 damage, spiders have no armor. So they die, we get 1 victory point for the kill, but because I did it from hidden, Strike from the Shadows procs, which was one of the oaths I took, so we actually gained 2 victory points there, which might be important. Then we have to test our agility, I think, or int, no, it's agility, to see if we remain hidden. A 6, our agility is currently 6, so we do stay hidden. And she has another action, so I'm going to boost her movement, and we're going to get into base to base with this treasure chest. I think I'm allowed to check it because she's an adventurer this turn. Let me just, it's going to be a bit awkward to pull the measuring tape out. 1 second. I just want to make sure 9 inches is enough to make it, because it had to be at least 8 away from her, but yeah. So she's going to scarp her right over here. Master treasure chest. Now, I don't think it has to be locked. Actually, you know what? It might have to be locked. I just used the same token we had before. I'll look into that before we do anything with this. Yeah, there's a deck of actual master treasure chests, which have, or a deck, a bunch of symbols for them. That's just an objective token one that happened to be one. I just reused it because I thought that was fine. We need to check see if she's run out of glass arrows, because I forgot. Close, but nope, she still has some. So we're just going to pick one of these at random, and that's going to be the master chest. See if it's unlocked or locked or whatever. Let's pick this one. It is unlocked, so we just get the treasure. We still have to test to see whether or not we get trapped. We kind of wanted to because of the quest, but no, didn't happen. So we can draw a master treasure card. I just want to see, I put the deck away. Okay, well, the more important part is 2 victory points for looting that. Well, let's try and do this right before we switch over to the 2 adversary activations. Just splitting this anywhere, let's take this one. Potion of Ultimate Stamina. 1 use, free action, restores stamina to maximum. So we can cover those 2 activations. One might be useful, one isn't. It was the spider there, just creeped along the edge of the table. The other was the hidden skeleton there. Moved up, boosted its movement to get within range to do a long range attack, and has to try and detect the Dragonborn first of all on an int of 3, so that would be a no, with an 8. So that takes us to the end of the turn then. We are going into the second last turn. Blessings of Arcade, so we would be able to heal. She's at full health, and the 1 spider of its dead respawns. That is going to appear probably at the table where I'm keeping, at the table edge where I'm keeping all the cards, annoyingly. But yeah, quite far away, so it's probably not going to matter. Well, my second last turn, I've measured out what I want to do, and her primary faction is adventurer, so I presume she gets the free search if she ends a turn next to a treasure. She's going to try and detect that skeleton to hit them. Outside of 6 though, so it's just a straight up roll against her in, which ain't great without that buff, so I'm not going to... Oh, never mind. Good job, I had the dice ready. Long range shot, she's attacking from sneak as well, so there's an extra red in there. Let's see what happens. A 5 comes down to a 4, good enough, hits for a 3. The double swords might do something. Pierce 2 on the bow, so it has no block, and is both unhidden and murdered. That's good then, because that's 1 victory point for the pile, which I'll add in a second. Does she run out of ammo? No. Does she stay hidden? Yes. Wow, that's like the perfect turn. She's boosting her movement for 1 stat. Oh wait, no, if she boosts her movement she loses stealth. I can't do that. I have to go after this chest. I wanted to go up there just to have some fun at that end of the table. Can't, because she drops stealth. I think I might have accidentally boosted while hidden once already. I just remembered you can't do that. It's another open chest. Wow. Is it empty? Well, it's not, sorry, I meant is it trapped? And the answer is yes. Yes, it is. I also need to check if a normal chest is worth any victory points. I also have to go look at the trap cards, but yeah, this is going to hurt. So it's not worth any victory points because it is just treasure, not objective. But forgot about that quest we had, where if you do get trapped, you get 2 victory points, but you find nothing. So we're going to do that. You still have to draw a trap card though, so I'm still going to look them out. But yeah, I forgot about that card. Let us see what it blends in with the table. Let's see what trap has sprung. Rockfall trap. Oh, lovely. Apply the following damage to the target model. Red plus yellow. That is nasty. And the helmet adds another yellow. Oh, good, another yellow. This is very bad. Oh no. And slowed. I don't think slow's good. Well, slow might matter actually. So her armor is a red. Go get an Oblivion symbol. Nope. Blocks 2, takes 2. And we can quickly cover the 2 enemy activations because neither of them attacked. This skeleton hid, moved up, guarding the objective there, and this spider scuttled along down here, didn't do anything else. Well, we're seeing the event that's going to carry us into the last turn because we're already there, turn 8. It goes a lot faster when 2/3 of your team are dead. The Dragonborn will heal 1 HP regardless, thanks to that RK amulet. Almost didn't bring that amulet because then I could have fit in a 3rd recruit. Change of plans. This is the you can draw another quest. I guess we could actually, if I have the deck handy. I don't have the deck handy. I should stop tidying things away before I'm done. Either way, it's at 2, no 1. We've only got 1 dead anyway. The 1 dead skeleton will respawn. But this is the final turn. Let's see what happens. Well, because our current quest is basically impossible, I'm not going to clear every enemy, which also means we're going to fail the other oath I took. We might as well draw another quest card, just to see. Let's draw this one. If it's something we can do. Grimsever's Return. The scenario must use treasure. It does. Your party may not include the upgrade card required. It's a special quest for the quest item. Be in possession of it when the game ends. There's not enough turns left to do this. I guess that still counts as the draw though, so it doesn't matter. Either way, we are not doing the quest. Well, my final turn might be really, really boring if the Dragonborn can't detect this hidden skeleton with her really rubbish int. So let's see. I'm doing it from this range to this. I think she actually did do it. She did do it. Okay, hang on. We're back on. She has detected Mr. Hidden Skelly Man, and that means I can attack him from where I'm standing because that's what I wanted to do. It's going to be a long range hit from that distance, which means not as much damage. It's going to be 2 yellow and a green. I'm not going to throw anything extra in. Oh, but she's attacking from shadow actually, or sneak rather, so that's another red. Well, that's definitely a dead skeleton. Even with potential cover from half cutting off, that's way too much damage. So that's another victory point. And does she run out of arrows right at the end of the game? Nope. Does she get unhidden? Yes, but she also heals 1. So she's back to full health and her hidden is gone. I guess I got the 1 victory point for killing the skeleton. I was going to try and move into the objective and hold it. If that spider activates though, he'll definitely get an attack off. We are back to full health though. Yeah, she'll boost her movement to run to that objective. If the spider doesn't activate, that means that that's 2 more victory points, and it might put us into the you actually won really well bracket rather than just the you scraped by. Well, the 2 activations are not going to affect anything. The spider that appeared down there-ish came forwards. One of the 2 skeletons that respawned came down there-ish. They're not going to get any attacks, so that does take us to the end of the game. We get to see how many victory points I got. We're going to have to subtract some for failing an oath, but let's see what our final score is. So here's our pile of victory points. I hope I covered everything we did. That's flipped over because that's the 5 we spent to level the Dragonborn, which actually worked out a couple of times. We did not do wipe them out, so we lose a victory point for taking an oath we didn't achieve, so that goes away. We did do strike from shadows. I added that in at the time, so that is 10 and that is 9, so we got 19. So if we come over here, 19 does actually put us above the 16, so we did get a solid victory even though 2/3 of who I brought died. That RK amulet that I gave her to give her regenerate health came through clutch for sure. I think that did better than taking another one of the trainee recruits, honestly. Probably did stuff wrong again. This was mostly just to dabble with the hidden mechanics and the sneak mechanics. I kind of prefer that Dragonborn with the setup it had compared to the other Dragonborn that we tried last time, but we got very lucky with the glass arrows not running out. Although it's a 1 in 12 chance or whatever. But either way, I hope you enjoyed anyway. We're still going to practice and look to expanding the number of adversaries we can have, monsters, have some more expensive monsters, because again you are supposed to have a larger amount of them than your team. And also trying to settle on an ideal septum limit as well. I think aiming for around 200 seems like the best bet to me, but open to input on that. Hope you enjoyed either way. Thank you very much for watching, and if you're looking for something to pass the time between this season of Fallout Wasteland Warfare and the next, Call to Arms seems similar enough to me to kind of scratch the itch, but I could be wrong. If you want to support the channel though, please do consider pressing the thanks button, becoming a channel member, or checking out the Patreon. It is all reinvested in the channel and will help fund the purchase of new miniatures. As my dog barks, thank you for watching, and ta-ta for now.